Y'all, my garden is horrible. The weeds have just taken over. I do have a few bell pepper and some hot peppers in there that I'm going to be able to harvest. In this garden, I harvested all of my cabbages. I do have purple sweet potatoes still growing out here, and I'm going to leave those in there growing until they die off, and then I'll harvest those potatoes. But I'm going to start cleaning out. Tomato garden looks the same way. It's I can probably still harvest some tomatoes, but I haven't been out here in a few weeks. I ended up working 5 weeks straight and couldn't manage the garden. I have some basil that is still doing really good, and I'm going to harvest all the basil today to dry out. All my herbs have died out. I did harvest a lot of basil off of this one before it died. But the tomatoes are still going. There's still some tomatoes growing. Looks like all the red ones are back there in the very back. So I'll harvest what I can. I'm gonna harvest the basil. I'm gonna get all the cabbage buckets pulled out of this garden over here, because these beds will get cleaned out, and all of this garden stuff is all going to be ripped out. All this whole area will be a 16 by, let's see, down here is going to be a high tunnel that is a 10 by 20. So we'll have a 20-foot long high tunnel, and then we're gonna have garden all the way down, and it's gonna be all made, instead of using this 7-foot mesh fencing, we are going with cattle panels, so we'll be able to manage a little better on the weed eating of the weeds, because we don't like to use any kind of weed killer in the garden, because all these beds, they're in raised beds, but they sit on top of the ground, and we don't want any pesticides rolling down, because down this hillside back here past the garden is our fruit trees that have also just been taken over with weeds. And we're going to extend out an area of a electric fence, and that is to keep the deer out. I had began cleaning all of this up before the tornado hit, and then I had to refocus my time when I wasn't working on cleanup of the tornado. So it's all got put on the back burner. It got taken over with weeds. We desperately need a couple goats to clean this up. But before we can get goats, we've got to get a handle on it so I can get all my 3 fruit trees that are back here back in great condition and get them staked off some way so the goats can't get to those. Today I'm going to be working on this jungle of a garden. The only thing left in this section of the garden that is growing is my sweet potatoes. I'm going to start pulling the 5-gallon buckets out and cleaning those out. The garden starts down there where the T-posts are, and it goes all the way down. And this here in the chain link was my tomato garden. And some asked on our live the other night about how big our garden is. So I'm gonna be starting on ripping all this out today. This is my tomato garden. There are some tomatoes still growing in here, and I'm going to try to let some of those still grow, but I'm going to start pulling out buckets, the 5-gallon buckets for those that are done, and go ahead and start cleaning up this. We will not be using this chain link fence for garden next year. We are going to be using cattle panels. And we have a 10 by 20 high tunnel that we'll be using. But we're going to be extending the garden down to this section, all the way down to where you can see that stump down there. We cut a tree down that was there, and that's going to be the borderline. And just past that, I'm going to have 2 compost bins that join that we can compost in. All this stuff I had already started cleaning up. All this growth here was gone. This was all leveled out, and I did some burning in here of all the brush. Then we had the tornado come through, and all that got pushed aside to do tornado cleanup. So today I'm going to be working on getting the garden beds cleaned out. Brian is out here with the tractor, and he's going to try to start cleaning up some of the brush for the area that we're going to be putting the new garden in. And when we get the garden all cleaned out and all this cleaned up and mowed the best we can, our son-in-law is going to come over and try to level up the ground the best he can. And then we are going to be putting down garden bed, that rolled out garden barrier. So hopefully we can keep the weeds out next year. Our attempt this year with mulch on the bottom did not work very good because the rains washed down the hillside here and just kept washing it out. So we'll make another attempt with something better. The grounds are so uneven. It's so dangerous for him to be on the tractor on this area. But he's using his best judgment. And if it gets a little iffy, which he has gotten into some predicaments before, and we had to call a neighbor to come help pull him out with his tractor. So hopefully we don't have that issue today.
Welcome back, Resourceful Living, Homestead, and Sawmilling Brewery. Doing a thing for the wife. She's trying to get her garden back in shape, and took down the square pen. Getting ready to pull all these T-posts up for her and get these boxes out of here. We're going to clear all of this and put in those above ground. We got a high tunnel also we're going to put in here. But right now we're going to get the tractor to work and start pulling up these T-posts. One down. 4 more. On the camera, doing it one-handed, I usually just throw it around and around and it slips. I'm throwing the loops, just looping around. You're better off going under one hitch. That way it don't slip on you any. Okay, everything's down. Got the square pen down, all the T-posts are up. Just a little pickup, a little cleanup, and we'll be able to start making the future home of the new garden. So, Baby K's done her job.
And that wraps up this video.
Don't forget to like and subscribe and watch more of our videos. Bye.